Welcome to the A Team at New Beginnings Farmstead.
Thank
we're
you.
very excited to have you here.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have us go around and quickly say our name, and then
Okay.
do you want to say your name yourself?
Sure. Jid. They
Jid.
call me Jid.
Okay, Jid.
Jeff.
I'm Elisa. I'm the one who's been
Lisa.
contacting you.
Okay.
I'm Abby.
Very nice.
Ryan.
Ryan.
And I'm Julie.
Julie. Okay.
And we are the A Team over here
Very
at our
cool.
farm. So we want to hear about your farm. So tell us everything. First of all, your name.
My name is Morgan, and I can just go into the farm description. And
Absolutely.
So my name is Morgan. I'm from Embers Rising Farm. We're out of Clifton Springs, New York, which is kind of right in the middle of the Finger Lakes. I grew up on the farm that my wife and I currently own with our family. I'm the third generation farming it, but I'm the first generation to produce maple syrup from it. So the farm itself is about 250 acres. It's about 80% wooded, and then there's some crop fields and things like that. Growing up, so the farm itself, when I was growing up, everyone had other jobs. Like my dad, he was a pipeline engineer. My mom worked for Ontario County, but we had the farm, and that was something we always came back to. So growing up, we did Christmas trees. I can remember way back when I was probably before kindergarten, with the Christmas trees, we would load up in the back of the pickup truck and just sell them because they're all on the side of the road where we grow them. They were $7 each. And thinking about that compared to Christmas tree prices now is just crazy. And,
Yes.
the time period of that. In addition, around when I was in kindergarten, there were two fields that my grandfather, who was the first generation to really farm it, had always put crops on, and it never grew well. That was because the soil itself was very acidic. And so he kind of did his last year of planting, and he kind of plowed it all under and told my dad, find something that grows here because we can't grow anything else. So we started putting in blueberry plants. And that was I was in kindergarten when we started, and we are now a 5,000 blueberry plant operation in addition to everything else we do. We raise ornamental pheasants. We've got all sorts of different types of pheasants. And we raise those. We have peacocks. We do a lot with, we've got Nigerian dwarf goats, things like that. And then we have, the newest crop that we're working on is we grow shiitake mushrooms. And we found out about that through going to the New York State Maple Conference, like 5 or 6, right before COVID, so 2019. And they had a session on that there. And it's like another way to, use your woods to produce something. And my dad really jumped into that. And now we've got a rotating basis of about 200 to 300 logs per week that we run through. So that keeps us really busy. And then we do maple. The maple side of the farm started in 2017. My wife and I got married in 2016. We bought the farm the next year, and we always had maple trees on the property. And we thought, well, we went to Cornell Cooperative Extension of Ontario County hosted like a beginning maple syrup class. So we went to that, and that was run by Steve Childs, and went through it, and we're like, let's go tap a few trees. And so we marked them like the next day or whatever. Marked like 15 trees, tapped them. I welded together a small like homemade arch, got a pan through on it. And we made about 2 gallons the first year, and we were kind of hooked. And from there, so 2017 is when we started. We're at 2025. We've gone through, we went from that little homemade arch to a little step up divided pan. And now we're at 2.5 by 8 or 2.5 by 10 foot Smoky Lake, like the high tech, I guess. I don't know. We're not really that big, but we feel like, hey, we've kind of made it. We've gone and built a sugar house, put an addition on the sugar house, and that keeps growing. And we just keep adding taps on. So we've been at it for a while, and that's probably the fastest growing part of the farm in terms of interest, and it's helped really expand ourselves in agritourism as well, and things like that. And then just to kind of sum up, and I know I've just kind of rambled a little bit, the name of the farm, we were formerly Acme Farms, which was the first initial of everyone's name of the original family. And now we're Embers Rising, and I've got the hat and the logo there. But Embers Rising comes from my great-great-grandfather. He was, the short story is he was an orphan during World War I over in Belgium, and they found him in a field, probably after a battle, next to a burning fire. And he was an infant at the time. And they took this infant to the local orphanage, and they could not find next of kin. They could not find any family members, and they really didn't know who this child was. So they had to give him a name, and the name they gave him at the orphanage was Ambros van Hoven, which means embers by the fire. So when we went to do the rebranding of the farm about 3 years ago, and we went through a bunch of iterations of names, and we had some ones we really liked, but then it turned out another company that doesn't even have anything to do with maple had it. And so it was like finding something that would set us apart, get us a little bit more recognizable in terms of our labeling and our logo and things like that. And then when we had the story, and I have a friend of mine that works in publishing and advertisements marketing in Syracuse, New York, sent him the backstory, and he came up with the logo, and we've kind of gone from there. So that's a real short story on the name of the farm and what we produce.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where do you sell your products?
So we really do we do farmers markets. We're at a couple of those throughout the week during like from June to October. We do a lot of events on the weekends. So we'll hit up like festivals from like the spring through the summer and especially into fall. We are I can't even think of we are wholesaling to a bunch of places. We do a lot of, we work with restaurants in our area too, or hotels that are looking to add pure maple syrup to their menus, whether they're cooking with it or offering it to their guests as part of a breakfast or something like that. And then we sell right out of the farm. So with blueberry season, we're open roughly July and early August. We're open 4 days a week, so we have it available then. And we do a lot of like through Facebook, social media, if you want to place an order, and we can ship it out to them. Or they can come and pick up at the farm. We just have a pickup stand that people can just stop out at. We're working on updating our website. It's not the most up-to-date, just so people have a better idea of what we all have available, and then hopefully moving into some online sales within the next year or two.
What do you do with the blueberries?
So
Is
blueberries.
it pick your own?
Yep. So it's pick your own, or we pick. So we pick for orders. People come out during our open hours, and they can pick as well. And then we do supply a couple smaller, like small farmers that go into like farmers markets and bring blueberries. We supply them, and we send a lot, especially towards the end of the season, to the local produce auctions. And that usually is a lot of farmers there buying those berries up and then reselling them themselves. But I think our record year for blueberry production was 4.9 tons. And last season was a little bit down because of the way the weather was. And we were at, I think 4.1 ton was picked off this year.
How many staff do you have?
It's myself, my father, run pretty much most of it. And then, my mother helps out a lot. My wife and our kids, who are very little, but they help out. So it's pretty much a family affair. So we stay very busy. And on top of that, we all still have other jobs. My parents have since retired, but I myself, I'm a teacher, and my wife's a teacher as well. So we're busy.
You handpicked 4 tons with 2 people?
No, not us. So the 4 tons includes, it's us picking, but it's also everyone that comes out to do the U-pick.
Okay.
So that includes, I don't have a number off the top of my head on how many people come out, but that includes like for the month and a half long season, everyone that comes out plus what we do. So that makes it a little bit more believable. No, we don't pick that much on our own.
Wow. Well, we're a small family farm as well.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Tap count. How many you're up to?
So the last few years we've been right around 1,000 maple and about 50 to 60 walnut. This year we're adding about another 500 to 600. I was actually just out working on a mess up I did on some of the lines that we're working with. So we'll probably be about 15 to 1,700 this year. And I think our walnut, we're trying to get about 100 walnuts in.
Do you aggregate the walnut sap with the maple sap?
Yes. So one of the things we realized, and I don't know if you have any work with the walnut trees and tapping them. So with walnut trees, we do tap black walnut. We've got a bunch on our property, and then we go out. There's a winery in our area that we go and we tap there, and we have a contract set up because when we go out and tap on other people's property, we have that all ready to go. And also because walnut is such a prized hardwood that people want to work with, there's a lot of educating the public, because we'll have people come to us all the time and say, hey, I'd love for you to come out and tap our walnut trees. And I said, well, here's the information so and so you're an informed consumer about if you want us to tap, here's what your lumber price could be, here's how we could affect it. But if you find the right buyer, and there's a lot of factors into it. But because walnut trees produce, the sap that they produce is about on the same level as maple trees that are in the same area. So right around that 1.5 to 2%, maybe more depending on the tree. But they produce, I would say, 1/10 of what a maple does on even a good running day. So they produce very little bit of sap. And when you boil, you get a natural pectin that forms that's in the sap of a walnut tree. So when you go to filter out, you can't push it through a filter press because it'll just blow out all your filters. But because we get so little, we have to mix it because if we would have to have a separate evaporator to do straight walnut syrup. The first couple years we were doing it, we did straight walnut because we had a small evaporator. It was easy to do that with. This we do it and we try to keep it about an 80-20 blend. Sometimes it's 90-10, just depending on how much we have and we got to get it moved through. And then we take all the syrup off. The evaporator gets emptied. We take the remainder that hasn't boiled down to complete syrup, and that gets boiled in a separate, just a boiling pan, and then that gets filtered through not a filter press, but like gravity filter through the pre-filters, and then the final filter there. So it's about an 80-20 blend. One of the nice things about it, it's probably one of the most popular items we have, and it doesn't last very long because it's kind of gives you like that robust maple taste, but you get like a note of butterscotch and nuttiness on the back end.
Oh, that's
so it's
cool.
a really nice flavor. It's just a bummer that I wish we could make a lot more because there was a few years that we just didn't venture into doing it because the season was crazy or the year was warm. And it's like, we just need to focus on getting as much maple syrup as we can make. And maybe we'll hit walnut another time. So it's kind of, this year we're planning on doing it again. So it'll be 2 years in a row, but we took about 2 years off when it was warmer in 2023, 2024.
So you're not aggregating the sap, you're making them separately and then blending it.
Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
And why would you not blend the sap? Is there a reason?
One of the things we worry, and it's a very small worry, but it's a worry enough to be concerned, is that nut allergies.
Right.
And with the nut allergies, I tell people, but it doesn't mean anything because I'm not a scientist, but there's no scientific evidence that the walnut sap could lead to a walnut or a nut allergy reaction. However, I want to stay on the side of caution as much as I can, and I want to keep that stuff separate because no one needs that. No producer of syrup needs to have that happen because that doesn't only hurt you, but it gives everyone a bad name. Well, what else could be going on? So we keep it very much separate until the final stage, and then it gets mixed in, rather than trying to mix it and then play the game of is it out or is it not, which I only can imagine would be really difficult to figure out.
Wow. Do you do any value-added products with the maple?
We do. So we do like, in terms of like confections, we do the cream, the candy, the sugar, cotton candy. And then for our syrups that we do, one of the things that kind of makes us a little different because when we started venturing into this endeavor, right around the corner, less than a mile and a half from my house, is a very big maple producer right in Ontario County. And there's a few others around that are really big. So we knew that maple is out there on the market, especially locally. And what we're going to do to set ourselves apart. So we moved into the infusion route. So we do the infusions, which are, I think right now, we've got like 15 different flavors that we mess with.
Wow.
So we do everything from cinnamon infused vanilla, which is something that a lot of people do anyway. We do bourbon age, of course. And then we do some crazy ones. Like we've got 2 different hot pepper ones using habanero and habanero and ghost peppers. We do, because we have blueberries, we do a blueberry infusion. That's a really nice one, easy one to do because they're right there. And then we do some others too that are kind of more of like seasonal or for certain events.
Oh, that's awesome. We do some of that as well.
Yeah.
Do you use the blueberries fresh or dry them first?
So we dry them first.
Yeah.
And I know that was because when we first looked into it, I used them fresh and it had such an amazing taste, but there was also the worry of the yeast building up and then some things kind of going bad or turning more of that alcohol-y type of taste because of the fermentation. So we dry them all up. So it makes blueberry season a little bit crazy because we'll pick, I don't know how many buckets full, and then they go into the dehydrator and then they go into plastic bags and in the freezer until we need them, which is nice because we can make it year round. We can have it year round available. I know this year that's been a popular one for us. So we've almost run out of blueberries. So we're kind of like, well, we've got to really hedge our bets until we get more blueberries to actually make it with. So,
So do you grow the peppers or are you purchasing that?
This year, all of our habaneros we grew, which was kind of cool. In the years past, we've bought them. The ghost pepper, one of the farms I work with at one of the farmers markets we go to, we work on a deal there. They grow them a little bit. I mean, they have the resources because pepper plants, I didn't realize, can be a little finicky, especially just putting them in the ground, which I didn't really realize. Like this past year was a great year for our habaneros. But for the most part, the ghost pepper, the hotter ones, we let someone else do that work. And then we just go ahead and purchase and work it that way.
Wow. Have you ever, do you do walnut infusion?
We just do that walnut blend. We don't do a walnut infusion in any of them. One of the things I didn't say we also make hickory syrup.
Oh man.
For hickory trees. And that's a different process. And, there's that added sugar type element to it, but we add in maple sugar instead. So we're kind of using that as the way to add the sugar in to get it to density, even though you don't have to do a lot of it. But that's something that's a little different. With the hickory, that was kind of an accident that we found it. Just online. It was like one of our first years doing it, and like, oh, let's try it. We've got the hickory trees. Why not? And then after that, it was like, if it turns out great, awesome. If it doesn't, we can just move on. And it's been nicely received just because it's a lighter syrup that people like that don't necessarily always like maple.
Is your entire system on vacuum?
We've been moving that direction. The first like 3-4 years, it was all buckets, and then it got to be like, well, I'm walking to all these, so let's put up line systems. And silly me, like I feel like I've learned so much as I go, and that's one of the things I tell when people who have no idea of like maple farming or maple sap or anything like that. Like I've had to relearn or learn so many things that I thought I knew or I didn't know at all. So like in terms of science and math, and then you get into marketing, but so then we started on the vacuum and like calculating all that. So last year was a full year with all of our systems online, with the exception of like our walnut trees are not on lines. They're just still buckets because there's so few of them. And then we're installing the new system that I was out working on this afternoon. And that will have vacuum on it as well.
Did you tap already this year?
No, we haven't tapped yet. So right now we had a little bit of warmth right around like early January, late December-ish. And it was kind of like, it was just too early and you don't have enough. We didn't have enough warm days to really justify getting in and doing all the tapping. It looks like I keep watching the weather. Like I think my weather app on my phone is probably like the most searched thing every day I'm looking, and then, but maybe it changed. So right now it looks like before we really get into it, I think we've got 2 weeks for sure, possibly 3. It really depends on what that weather is, because we'll get a day. Today was like 35, but right now where we're at, we've had wind gusts of like 60 miles an hour. So, I'm just watching the trees out the windows mowing right now. So I know they're not running. We'll get another warm up day on Friday, and then it cools right back down. And we've had such a deep freeze where we are. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. We're not going to miss a run waiting a couple more weeks.
Does the lake effect impact your run?
Not so much. We are far south enough of Lake Ontario and east enough of Lake Erie that we don't really get much lake effect. Right now, we're probably looking at about 3 to 4 inches on the ground that's been there for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've got my wife's uncle, who has one of the biggest production maple farms in Wyoming County, New York. I mean, they're under like 3 or 4 feet of snow right now because he gets all that lake effect. And then I know some up more towards the Lake Ontario, Wayne County area, Northern Monroe, they're getting hit with it as well. But we don't see usually too much during the season.
I'm sorry, I'm asking all the questions.
No, you're great.
Wood-fired evaporator?
Yep, 100% wood fire. We've got so many trees on the property. We had the ash borer come through, and we had that ash taken out by a professional logger because we just had so many and they were standing dead. And that was like 5 or 6 years ago. And we're still finding so many that are out there that were small or not noticed or didn't look as bad. So we've got a lot of that. But it's a 100% wood-fired evaporator. And hopefully, as long as I can, I want to keep doing it that way.
And the kids help?
Yeah, the kids help. My son, John, he is 4 going on 5, but he's actually 4 going on about 85. He's like a little old man, and he's all about being outside and working. And it's been tough the last couple of weeks because it's been so cold. He wants to come out, but you just can't come out because you're going to freeze. And then my daughter, Isla, she is going to be turning 2. She turns 2 on March 31st. So she enjoys it, but she doesn't really have any idea what's going on right now. So yeah, no, one of the things that I've enjoyed about this and being a family farm, you guys can probably echo it, is just I like having the family working together on something, and it's nice to have that camaraderie. Even I think it kind of helps, makes us a stronger knit family by doing this, which is kind of cool. And I grew up, farming was always something we did, and I appreciate all that I got out of it, even if at the time I didn't know I was getting something from it, if that makes any sense.
Well, tell us more about your mushroom growing. How'd you get into that, and what do you do with it? Yeah, so the mushrooms were, like I said, we learned about that at the Maple conference about, I think, 2018, 2019. And it was a mushroom and ginseng class. And that was something that was kind of neat. My dad went to it, and he came out, and he's like, well, ginseng, it's this much
X amount of dollars up front, and you've got to wait. I think it was like a 7-year turnaround before you could harvest them out of, if you planted it yourself. And he goes, but mushrooms, you can turn around and within a year have it. So he learned the mushrooms grow the best the way we do it on hardwoods. So we do it all in logs. We use typically oak, and we do use some sugar maple if we've got trees that are still alive but are going to be out of production or are not good producers or sap. And really, you don't need to take the tree down. It's more just taking limbs off of it, because you don't want you really don't want to have a log with a diameter larger than 10 inches. Really want to be like the 5 to 8 inch range, just because the way we work it is the logs get cut into chunks about 4 to 5 feet long. Then they get inoculated. So I think it's every 2 inches, and you just do lines up and down. We've got a special bore that you can put it in. You go right down the log and put the holes in, and then we get basically the blocks or the bricks of spore, and we get them. I don't know off the place off the top of my head, but it's out of Wisconsin, and each hole gets packed with that spore, and then we wax coat it, and then those have to sit for a year, and we have to take the trees. The logs we get are from trees that are alive but are in their dormant stage. So that happens like right about now, maybe more towards March. We'll do the cutting for those logs. The log itself has to sit an entire year, so you can't use it for a year. But once you do, as we rotate them in, they have to get soaked. They have to get soaked in water, and we usually typically start producing in April, and we finish up in October. April is mostly our cold weather varieties of shiitakes. So those can grow and germinate without being soaked, but it helps if you can, as long as it's not too cold. The water that you soak the logs in has to be a minimum of 10 degrees cooler than the air. If it's too warm, it won't have the production that you want. They get soaked for 24 hours. Then we take them out and we put them on racks that we built throughout the woods. We've got, I think, 4 of them right now. So when we first started, they recommended the TP method, where the bottom of the log sits on the ground, and then they interlock kind of over maybe a board between 2 trees. The problem we learned really quickly, in which we didn't know going into that, and I feel like we're always learning, the biggest pest for mushrooms is slugs. So the first harvest we got was like, oh my gosh, these are overflowing. There's so many mushrooms. And then like the next time we went down, all the tops have been eaten off. Like just the stems are left. And we had no idea what it was, because the way it looked is like these were chipmunks or squirrels. So like, oh my goodness. So then I just got on Facebook and found like a mushroom growing page, and I just asked the question, because I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. They're like, oh, it's slugs. I'm like, okay. So then you start like being more aware of it, and it's like the hundreds and hundreds of slugs we picked off the first couple of weeks and just got rid of. And then it was like you can put down slug traps, where basically like you get a old plastic like Chinese food container, put it in the ground, fill it with beer, and they all go to it. You can put sluggo down or eggshells, and they don't like to crawl over it. And then after we realized that's okay, but it doesn't work, we built the racks, which gets them up off the ground. We put the eggshells or sluggo pellets around each post, and we've had very little issues with them. Wow. The market is typically done. We've got a couple restaurants we supply during this time we have it. We do a lot of farmers markets, because people can't get enough of them, especially once they know you have them. And there's something about fresh mushrooms that have been cut off logs. They have a better flavor, because the majority of mushrooms that are grown and you pick up in the grocery store are grown in the bags, which are just kind of the spore in a plastic bag, or are grown in big, not troughs, but big like containers of wood chips, which you can grow a lot, but the flavor isn't there. There's a better flavor when you're using the hardwood logs. A log can last up to 5 years of production before all of the nutrients are taken out of it. Your best production is going to be years 1 to 3, obviously, because that's when there's still a lot of nutrients in that log. And then after that, you start seeing a big drop off in terms of the amount of mushrooms that are produced.
Wow. Your kids like mushrooms?
Yes, my son's all about it. That's the only thing he'll have on his pizza. He doesn't want pepperoni. He doesn't want anything else. He wants mushrooms, and he prefers mushrooms from Grandpa, because Grandpa grows them.
Adorable.
Oh, that's awesome.
So what I'm getting out of this is there's 3 people that tap
at our farm.
At your farm, yes.
For the trees, yeah. So myself, my father, and then I have one of my cousins. He's been this season a big help, and he's been here helping me put up the next system. He'll be into it, and there's pretty much 3 people that go through, and I think usually 2 days we'll have it all tapped.
He's a lot younger than us, Jeff.
So what I'm getting at is we
all
really
tap.
need to step up our game.
We're a lot older.
We tapped last weekend and this weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Very
we
cool.
just tapped.
How many taps do you all have in?
We don't even know. What do you have, Egidio?
We won't know until the end of the season, but we're shooting for around 600 this year.
Oh, excellent. Very good.
Yeah, we're trying. Yeah.
Awesome.
The problem is that we only about half of them on high vacuum.
Right.
So we're struggling to find a way to get there, and we'll figure it out. But like you said, there's a lot of learning. I have to tell you, Morgan, I am beyond impressed.
Me too.
Absolutely. No, listen, I'm not blowing smoke, brother. I am beyond impressed. You and your family seem like hardworking people. It is absolutely, to me, amazing that they're still out there doing it. You know, we live close to cities down here by New York. We're 2 hours north of New York City, and a lot of it's business driven. And so there's farms. You know, clearly there's farms around us, but to hear what you're doing out there, absolutely amazing. I'm so glad to hear that you got your kids involved in that.
Thank you.
I'm just amazed, right?
And after a day of teaching, what age group do you teach?
Middle school.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's a rough one. What does your wife teach?
She teaches, she was at the middle school. We met at school actually. And now so I teach 7th and 8th grade U.S. history, and she teaches special ed. And she's a saint. She spent many years in a self-contained skills classroom, which is not necessarily behaviors, but kids that are very low levels, and it's just more of a like counting change and learning like life skills. So she spent a long time on that, and now she's back in kind of like general ed. So she's doing special ed support in general education classes now.
So being in the woods is your release.
Yes, it is. It's just nice to be quiet. It is. And I think one of the things that I will like speak to teaching, because I do really love a lot of it. There's some things I could do without, but I absolutely love working with kids. And through, this is my 15th year teaching. I have seen the importance of having, the nuclear family, and having a family that works together, that has dinner together, that talks to each other, because I see so many kids that don't have that. And one of the things that's becoming the trend that's very unfortunate is so many kids come from homes that don't have mom, don't have dad, are living with grandma and grandpa, uncle, foster. Like, it's been such a change in just 15 years. And I think one of the biggest things that needs to happen is there are a lot of young boys that need strong male role models in their lives, because they don't have that kind of thing. And I think that society and the bigger scheme of things would be so much better if boys had dads, in a way, like, because there's so many boys that if I could take you home and I could like raise you here, I would take you in a heartbeat, because I want to help you see that your position in life is not where you could have to end up. Where you currently are is not where you will be for the entire life. And if you can see that and see beyond where you are right now, the world is your oyster and you can accomplish anything you want. And I think there's too many kids, boys and girls both, that don't hear that enough at home and need that. So that's one of the things, like, it's hard because we're at this kind of this impasse where people are like, well, when are you going to move away from teaching and go to the farm full time? Because, in the next 5 or 6 years, my father will kind of be done with the farming, because he's retired, and he's told me, he goes, I've got this many more years doing blueberries and Christmas trees, and then I kind of want to pass it on. And it's like, I'm going to have to figure out time a little bit better on that, maybe better at time management when we hit it, because I want to see my teaching career through, because I think that there's a lot of kids that I can try to help.
Wow.
Yeah, my wife right now is like, aw, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I agree. I agree with everything you're saying. And
I got to tell
we
you,
need more of you.
I wish we had you as a neighbor.
Yeah.
Really, right? Like, amazing.
So every time we talk and people say, what are you doing? What are you doing? Our excuse is always, well, we don't do this full time. We all have full-time jobs. You're blowing that narrative right out.
We're not sure we're going to air this. You're making us look bad.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's awesome. You still do Christmas trees now?
Yes, we do. Yep, we just
tell
finished
us about that. We've thought about it.
Yeah.
So Christmas trees. I think it is the
be honest
in terms of the amount of work put into it, and the I'm not talking about turnaround, but the work put into it, and then your profit margin. It's the best thing we have going.
Oh my gosh.
It's not the biggest part. The drawback is, and there's a Christmas tree shortage in the United States,
Yes.
And that has been going on since probably about COVID, because when COVID hit, all of a sudden there was this huge, and I think it was partly because everyone's been cooped up and whatnot. There's this huge movement towards everyone wants real Christmas trees again. For a Christmas tree, we raised two different varieties that we have available right now. We have blue spruce and concolor fir. Blue spruce have very short needles, very much of like a pine smell. And then the concolor fir, long, soft needles, citrusy smell to them. They are the tree right now. Concolor fir. We do a couple other varieties, but they're not big enough yet to cut. The only thing with the Christmas trees is the turnaround and the time it takes to go to full maturity. Excuse me, for a blue spruce, you're looking at right about 9 to 11 years. And it could be you could sell them quicker. It just depends on what your goals are. Our concolor firs are nicer because they grow quicker, about 7 years to maturity. But the nice thing is you put them in the ground. We'll do, and that's in the springtime, we'll get about 400 to 500 saplings. They get planted. We've moved towards one of the things that they used to always come bare root. Now we get what is called their root systems are in a pod. And that has helped a ton with longevity and survival rate the first year. Typically, first year, once you put them in, if you're doing 50% survival rate on the trees you plant that year, you're doing great because they need so much water. Wow. And some of the stuff we were getting, which was bare root, some of it was small, like this big. Others were gigantic, like in the same bundles. The small ones actually do better because they need less water the first couple of years. The big ones usually don't make it. With the pods, the root comes in like a big cup that's just like the way it's been grown. Those have survived so much better for us. So we were at like a 70% survival rate last year. And then they go in and it's very low maintenance because you put them in. We go through in the fall and pull flags from anything that didn't survive. And then because we're in production, we've got them ready. We'll go through and we'll just, as we trim the trees up every year, and we use it's basically just a gas powered trimmer, and it's got a arm on it, like I can't even make how big it is, probably about 3.5, 4 feet. And you just go up and down the tree a couple times and you move on. And that's pretty much it. With blueberries, you do the picking in the summer, you do fertilization in the fall, you have to do all the pruning in the winter. And this past couple of years, we've brought in crews to help us prune. Because when my father and I were doing it, we would log in 400 to 500 hours of pruning from November through April.
Wow.
Because we kept the last 2 years before we got a crew in to help us, we were just like, there was two of us. And to do one bush, one person, it takes about 15 to 20 minutes each one, and multiply that by 5,000. Takes a long time. Wow. So that was something that we realized we needed, and we had some connections. So we bring in a crew of about 20 to 30 people, and we have it done in 2 days now, which is just such a time saver because most of the pruning would be done right now as maple season's getting started. So a few years ago, before we started bringing in groups, it was, Dad, I'll see you. I got to go tap trees. I got to get things ready. You're on your own pruning. And I felt terrible. So we did that. But yeah, so Christmas trees are by far the lowest amount of work involved, and the biggest turnaround in terms of the work you put in and the price it is ahead of time, because they're pretty low maintenance compared to blueberries. And you guys know with maple syrup, there's all sorts of things that you can spend money on, especially when you get into vacuum and tubings and fittings and all of that.
So for the record on our side, for the people who are now thinking Christmas trees, we'll be 70 years old before we sell the first tree. Right? So let's keep that going.
That's true.
But you're cutting them, or to cut your own on the trees?
It's both. We cut for people that need it, and then most people want to come out. I think the huge part of Christmas is people want to come, or for getting a Christmas tree, want to come out, want to get the pictures with the family, do a Christmas card photo, maybe cut the tree down, drag it up. There's that. One of the things we've started doing the last couple of years is because we get trees that are too tall and we can't prune anymore. So what ends up happening is we cut those out and we cut them down to like 5 to 8 feet tall for people. And we have those lined up right where we're selling. And we've got like a rope system that kind of holds them all up. And we sell those at a discounted price just because one is it gets them out of the field, so we don't have to worry about them anymore. We don't have to worry about pruning, and it also gets trees that typically would just sit until we cut them down and pull them into the woods. People will be buying those. Keeps the trees moving and keeps a little bit more profit in our pocket in terms of that. Because when it's been interesting, when people come out to cut their own, if they see a tree that's 15 plus feet tall, they just can't see, like, if I cut it halfway, it's a great tree and it's only 8 feet. So
right. Yeah. Wow.
Do we have
Very
anything
cool.
else? Yeah, I think we're blown away by everything you're
we're
saying
so
here.
impressed.
Great job.
Thank you.
How
Yeah.
far are you from? So we always go up to vacation in Association Island, which is
Henderson Harbor, I think.
how far are you from there?
I'm just gonna look it up on my phone. It's
Because we go up there in the summer and we'd love to stop by and get blueberries.
Yeah.
where was it again?
Near Sackett's Harbor, just above.
Oh, okay. So we're further. Yeah, we're about
West?
84 miles of them. So we are
Oh,
about 40 miles southeast of Rochester.
okay, not that
So
close.
we're right around like Canandaigua area. Is
Oh,
it
yeah.
Yeah.
one of the bigger ones? We're about 20 minutes from Canandaigua.
Okay, you're close to the Finger Lakes.
Yeah, we're right in the middle of the Finger Lakes.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
How far from what is it, Waterloo?
Oh, Waterloo. We're 20 minutes.
We're going to Waterloo this summer too.
Stop
Go
on
to
out.
see 'em.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very exciting.
yeah. Even if it's a day we're not open, just give us a heads up and we'll work something out. Have you guys come out to the farm?
Wow. This conversation has been awesome.
Yes,
You're
it
really
is.
inspiring us.
Thank you
Oh,
so much
thank you.
for joining us today. And yeah, we will definitely be in touch. We're not
Yeah.
that far. Not that
Yeah,
far
for sure.
away.
I mean, we're a few hours away right now. I mean, heck, I was thinking, all right, well, maybe we'll make it our way down to see them sometime. So that'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I'd love to actually meet you in person. And thank you so much for having me on and just let me talk a little bit.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
And,
Congratulations to your family for such good work.
And what
Thank
is
you.
your website? You said you're selling things online, so we can post that.
Yeah, so it's just right now I'd have to look what it is because like our website's under construction. The biggest thing for us in terms of sales online right now is social media. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and people message a lot of us through there. I'm just looking to see what the web page is on here because I know it's changing. So it is. It's Embers Rising at squarespace.com, and I can send that along to you as well.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be
Because
great.
right now we're just trying to work on. That's one area that it's not that we don't have the ability to, just timing wise to work through that. But
You mean
definitely
you don't
we're.
have time.
I wish. Like I say, like as people, we get a lot of questions. I know the superintendent from our school came out because we do a program called Adopt a Tree, where people can come out and like tap their own tree at the farm, and it's a whole thing before the season. So it's kind of cool to get them out. And someone gifted that to him, and he looked at me and he goes, "When do you sleep?" I said, "Bob, I'll tell you right off the bat." I said, "I sleep, and I can run on about 3 hours of sleep every night, and I'm good with that." I said, one day the training wheels will fall off and I'll have some problems. But I said, right now I can go. And during maple season, I feel like when we're running, and you guys know how crazy busy it gets with maple. And then when you get when sap starts running, you got to move it. So usually it's running on like 3 hours, 2 hours of sleep a night. But it's like that runner's high you get. And then I don't feel anything until like 2 weeks after the season's over and I'm cleaning up. I'm like, wow, I'm kind of tired now. So
Well, hopefully your kids are getting primed to take over the
Yeah.
business.
yeah, my son, so they ask him like, what do you want to do? They do all these like, because he's in pre-K right now. Like when you get older, what college you want to go to? And it was hilarious because I had him explain it. He wrote down Homer. And I'm like, what in the world? Because he has never seen The Simpsons or anything like that. Like, where is he getting Homer from? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I just want to be a Homer. I just want to stay home and work on the farm my whole life. I'm
Aw,
like,
that's
cute.
adorable.
Yeah, so it's cute. So we'll see if he decides to. I mean, we've got a long time before then. If he decides to want to actually take it over and move into it, he's more than welcome to. But I want to do so. The maple syrup, especially, because part of the way we got through college and things that my brother, sister, and myself was through the money that we made through blueberries. And that's kind of what the hope is for maple syrup for my son and my daughter. And I want to do, this is being done. I enjoy it, but it's also being done to the end game of, I want to be able to provide them, opportunities so they don't have to worry about like, I want them to have the chances, whatever they want to go do. I want to make sure I can do everything in my power in any way I can to make that opportunity a reality for them. So I love doing maple syrup. I love being on the farm, teaching it. I enjoy it. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that those two kids are taken care of.
Very cool.
Very good.
Great job. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thank
Thanks.
you all so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Okay, you too.